How are businesses structured? Welcome back everyone, my name is Zulfikar and this is video number 5 in this series about how corporations run the world. So if you haven't checked them out already, make sure you watch videos 1 to 4, where the first one was about why limited companies were created. The second video was about the first real major corporation in the world, which was designed to conquer an empire. Video number 3 was about how the rise of private militaries like Blackwater, which are companies hired to go inside countries and cause violence and havoc. Video number 4 was about consultancy and advisory businesses, in other words economic hitmen, and how they saddled poor countries with debt that they could never pay, which is just another way to conquer countries. And in this video I'm going to be talking about the actual structure of corporations, because what a lot of people don't understand is they don't realize that the directors and the CEOs, they are just employees of a corporation. The real owner of a company, like I said, an LLC or a limited company, these are separate legal entities. However, they are owned by either individuals or by other companies. So the owners of a limited company or an LLC are what you would call a shareholder. They own shares in the company. So for the smaller companies, the small and medium enterprises, generally the directors, the secretaries and the shareholders, the owners, they're normally the same people, because the company is just too small. But for the bigger corporations, the directors and CEOs, they'll just be employees. They might have some shares, but for the main part they are employees, and the owners of these big companies are very wealthy private individuals, or they are other companies, and those other companies are owned by some other companies. And just to demonstrate, I'm just going to put on a few graphics on the screen right now, just to give you a visual representation of what I'm talking about. So the first picture on the screen is Berkshire Hathaway. So that's Warren Buffett's company, obviously a well-known investor, known around the world. But his company, Berkshire Hathaway, is just the top company of other companies below it, as you can see. So these companies are all big by themselves, but they are all other companies owned by another company. And I'm going to put on another image now, just to give you a disclaimer. These images I've taken from Google. I haven't vetted, I haven't done the background research to confirm whether the companies you're about to see on screen are actually a part of these bigger conglomerates, but that's not the point. The point of this video is just to show you how this stuff works, and these images do a good job showing you how it does work in real life. So the second image that you should see on screen right now, this is a visual representation about how huge corporations and brands under the conglomerate Bayer are structured. Now Bayer bought out a company called Monsanto, and Monsanto has a terrible record of health and safety issues. But look at all of these companies. Like, these brands are massive in and of themselves. These are massive brands, but they are just a smaller part of a bigger brand, which is a smaller part of an even bigger brand. Ultimately, at the top of the pyramid, you will always find the same small number of organizations sitting there. Trying to find out who the real owners are becomes almost impossible. And I'm going to show you another image here. Again, this is another image of Berkshire Hathaway. So as you can see, there's wholly owned companies and there's significant stakes. What that means is basically Berkshire Hathaway wholly owns the companies. Obviously they had wholly owned companies. That means they own them outright, and the ones with significant stakes means they own a large amount of shares in those companies. Obviously, significant stake means significant influence, and just look at the different types of companies there. So you see a lot of banks there. A lot of banks are companies. They're owned by private institutions and private individuals. Another thing that people don't realize is that the banking system is one of the biggest fraudulent systems this planet has ever known. People don't realize banks are owned by private individuals or private institutions. They are not government entities, they are private institutions. And once again, let me put on the final image that I want to show you. And this is a massive company which you will have heard of, Time Warner. And just look at the brands underneath this company. Look at those brands. Those brands are absolutely huge. But what this image does well is demonstrate the interconnected web of everything that's out there. So just take a second to think about this. The companies which own the movies that you love watching, the companies which own the TV series that you love watching, are also the same companies that own the media. So like you got CNN there. So just think about that for a second. The same companies that own the media are the same companies that create the movies you watch and create the TV series that you watch. In other words, they've got total control of basically programming your brain, conditioning your brain through entertainment and news. And this is how they control the narrative. This is how they control the storylines. It's always the same companies at the top. You think there's so many different brands, you've got so many different choices, but they are all owned by the same entities at the top. And this is how they use smaller subsidiaries to confuse you, to brainwash you, to condition you, to program your thoughts and therefore your behaviors as well. And you've seen this. I mean, how many movies have you seen where the Soviets have been the bad guy or the Islamic terrorist is the bad guy? That's what's happening in the movies and the TV series. And then of course the news are showing you these extremists around the world. And this is how the dirty game is played. This is why when people talk about the elite or the deep state, the Illuminati or whatever else word they've got, what they're really referring to are the people who sit in the shadows at the top of these corporate pyramids. But here's the real kicker. The individuals with real power, the ones with the real wealth, they don't sit on any boards and their names aren't on any Forbes list or anything like that. They're basically not on any list, so you really don't know who the actual individuals are. But through corporations, through politicians, through governments, through mercenary armies, they instigate big things around the world. And like I said, who do you think that the media is? The media is just another corporation. It's just a bunch of companies owned by a bigger company, which is then shaping the narrative. And it's always trickling to the same people at the top. So the questions that you need to ask yourself, obviously we're going through a global thing right now. I hesitate to use the words because all kinds of stuff starts flagging up, but right now there's a real drive for you to get medicine. But the question that you need to ask is, who are these companies that are creating the medicine? Who are they owned by? Where do they sit in the pyramid? And the other question that you need to ask is, why are so many politicians receiving so much money? You've seen the news, you've seen the articles, you've seen the headlines where a politician or a famous figure will come out and they will influence you or encourage you to take a stance, but then later on you find out that these same politicians, these same influencers have been paid off by a company which is obviously to do with the companies that are giving away the medicine. And of course the other fraud that goes on is you've got these politicians that are trying to say this and that and the other, and then you find out they've received a kickback for being part of a company which is has received a government contract to give out the safety equipment like the PPE, the protection mask and all of that. So you've seen it all happen, and this is how this dirty game all works. So think back to the previous videos where I talk about how limited companies were created to protect the rich class. Well, these companies, these medicine companies, have got it even better now. The fundamental right of every human being living, especially in the West, is that they have a right to pursue legal action and justice anytime a company is negligent or done something wrong. That's a standard right which has been in existence for a very, very long time. However, these medicine companies are not liable for anything that goes wrong with the treatment that you receive. Now that should tell you a lot, but people are ignoring all of these signs, they're ignoring all of this stuff, but they are really exempt from any liability for any problems that come out from these untested experimental things. Now what I want you to basically take away is corporations today are the armies. Corporations today are the empires. They mix their economic muscle with private armies. They purchase media and therefore propaganda, and they also combine it with the buying off of influential leaders and governments. But it doesn't stop there, because the influence is so strong. They decide policies. They are the ones that create the school syllabus. They dictate policies in universities. They provide the funding and the financial incentives for experts, scientists and professionals, which then become the professional boards and the reputable institutions. So take a look at this. Not too long ago there was a scientific study which said that Diet Coke was healthier than water. So they tried to make out that Diet Coke is better than water for losing weight. Who were these scientists? Who were they funded by? Surprise, surprise, they were funded by Coca-Cola and PepsiCo themselves. So these companies, they've got a huge influence, they've got a lot of money. They will fund studies, and those studies will not be trying to find the truth. It will not be about the science. It will be about proving the thesis that they want. Now apply that to what's happening today. If they can do that with diet soda, with trying to make soda healthy, imagine the propaganda that you're witnessing today, the programming that you're witnessing today, with the bullshit that's going on around the world at this moment in time. And I'm going to say a few words about professionals, because the professionals of today are not free-thinking individuals. The professionals of today follow guidelines and frameworks and standards given to them. So the question that you need to ask is, who is it that provides the standards and who is it that provides the guidelines? And it's always a professional institution or a professional body. But who sits in these organizations? Who sits in these institutions? Who pays their salaries? Who gives them the financial incentives to put out the policies that they're putting out? And it always leads to the same pyramid time and time again. So in a traditional army, you have soldiers who go out and they kill, and they're just following orders. Well, the professional, the expert of today is the soldier of the corporation, and they are just following orders from above. They are just following policy decisions from up above. So ultimately, there is a problem with you being healthy. A healthy and happy you means you are not profitable. You being sick, on the other hand, in terms of buying medication, buying treatment and all that kind of things, that means you'll spend money. In other words, that makes you more profitable. And this is a fundamental fact which I will repeat. You are worth more being sick and unhealthy than you are happy and healthy. So do you now see why? Look, this entire game is rigged against you. It's designed to keep you sick. It's designed to keep you negative. It's designed to keep you stressed, anxious and afraid. The whole thing is rigged against you, and there's a reason why the biggest industries in the world are the pharmaceuticals and the arms. What that means is there will always be war, there will always be violence, and there will always be sickness, because these things just bring in way too much money and therefore allow a lot more control if these things were not happening. So let me know what you think about this video. Please go ahead and do your own research. Don't take my word for it. These videos are not designed to change your perception or opinion. They're simply designed to make you think outside the box, develop your own critical thinking faculties, question everything, do your own research, understand what's happening around the world right now, because there's just far too many coincidences going on for it to not be a conspiracy, which is a label they like to use to brush all of this stuff under the carpet. But this is not a conspiracy. This is how things run. This is how corporations run. Please do your own research. As for now, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Until the next video, take care, have a great day, bye bye.